Good morning, everyone. It is now 10:04 a.m. and we're here at the Rota Central Justicia. It is July 24th, 2024. And I now call this budget hearing to order. To introduce the members of the committee present here today, we have the Vice Chair to my left, Senator Karina Mabosnia. To her left, Senator Selena Vivalta. I chair this committee, Donald Malonia, and with 3 members present today, we have the quorum to proceed. As I stated earlier, Senator Dennis Mendiola will be joining us shortly. Senators Jude, Carl, and Paul are hereby excused. And with that, members, can I get a motion for the adoption of today's agenda? All right, motion was made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. With that, just to introduce the staff assisting the committee, we have our Sergeant at Arms, Ben Tanahi, our legal counsel, Joe Bermudez, our legislative aide, Jolene Dueñas-Stangovo, Delbert Camacho, our IT, and our fiscal analyst, Dave Tinapan. With that, I now open the floor for public comment.
Thank you, Chairman. For the record, my name is Diana Beneventijo Cook, and I live in the village of Annex F. And as a citizen of Rota, I'm here in support of our Rota Mayor's Office and the agencies. I do have a more detailed comment that I will be submitting to the chairman of the committee, and so I will go ahead and summarize what I've submitted. I am here today because I understand the challenges that the Senate faces with the limited resources, and today I am here to ask that you continue to look at where your investment is best spent. Investing in higher education is still the best way of providing our youth and our people the opportunity and the skills that they need to succeed in their lives. It's a big ask, and as everyone is knocking on your door asking for what you have to spare for their agencies, I want to thank you for coming to Rota. Thank you for listening to the needs of our people and our agencies. And I ask that you also take some time to enjoy our beautiful island. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hoku. Will your documents that you're submitting detail the Rota's operational costs? If not, can that be provided to the committee also? Okay. Thank you. Floor is still open. All right, looks like there's no one else, and with that, we close the public comment portion of the agenda. We move on to the next item, which is the introductions by the chair. Good morning again, everyone. Today, we are going to look through the Rota's budget submission as well as what the governor's office had proposed. Rota had requested for $14,567,685, and that encompasses the entire operations for all agencies. This is inclusive of 318 FTEs, of which $9,998,000 is being requested for personnel costs for those 318 FTEs. 3.7 is for operations. 833,000 is requested for utilities. However, the governor's proposal only provided for 7.7 million to cover 280 FTEs. 250,000 is allocated for utilities, which computes a shortfall of about 6.9 million overall, based on the municipality's request and what the governor is proposing. And so with that, we have the Rota Mayor's office up first, and the mayor is present with her chief of staff, and so I hand the floor over to the mayor for any opening remarks and then proceed with any additional information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hafide. Good morning to our esteemed dignitaries, the Honorable Chairman, and members of this distinguished body. For the record, my name is Aubrey Hokuk, Mayor for the Municipality of Rota. With me, I have my Chief of Staff, Dean Maglonia, my Budget Officer, Mr. Josh Calvo. We do have some resident department heads and acting resident department heads here present as well. And we would like to welcome you to our island, and we extend our sincerest gratitude and appreciation for your presence here as we present our budget requests and answer any questions you may all have for the respective departments here on Rota. We understand the current financial situation and recognize the priority will be for all personnel to be maintained to ensure the livelihood of our people. But as we plan ahead to prepare to effectively manage our government and ensure sufficient services be provided, I implore this body to heed our call for help to provide parity for our municipality in comparison to our neighboring islands. As you know, it is much costlier to live on Rota as well as the expenses here. And so I appreciate Congresswoman Obo's support to advocate for higher salaries for the municipality and our personnel. As it is, as I mentioned earlier, it is much more expensive to live on Rota. I would just want to share a few updates. We have made many strides trying to overcome the hurdles faced since I've entered office. We have cleared about 90% of our outstanding liabilities with the exception of our utility bills, but we remain frugal and committed to addressing them. We have been extremely focused on getting our projects in order that include those approved by FEMA and under the Public Assistance Office, as well as projects covered under the CIP and grants awarded by various federal grantors such as the Office of Insular Affairs, the Northern Marianas Housing Corporation, etc. But we still have issues that we need to address, but we are taking them one day at a time. So this has really kept us busy and focused to build a better Rota. With regard to the budget for the municipality of Rota, specifically my office, I ask for consideration to maintain the number of personnel currently employed under my office. Although our office is allocated 110 FTEs, I presently have 106 employees. I know the governor's proposed budget lists 103, but I humbly ask for the support of this body to please maintain the 3 FTEs that are currently being routed. I ask for the status quo to ensure that these employees will be able to help support themselves and their families throughout the next fiscal year. With the notice to all government agencies from CUC to convert all postpaid counts to prepaid meters, I appreciate the support of our governor, who has issued for this upcoming fiscal year some funds for utilities. Of course, it will not be enough, but we ask and we appreciate the support given, and we will try to make do with what we can. What we've done this fiscal year is because we were able to identify some available ARPA funds, we have somewhat advance paid for the departments that require meters or funding to extend those meters. We've covered that to the end of this fiscal year so that we don't have to worry. The only issue we have are the other departments that are on the postpaid. That is where we have an issue, as we have no available funding source to cover all that. For example, my office specifically, it estimates around $10,000 a month. But because of the air conditioning being down, this number has declined to about 7,000. But with the plan to move into the next fiscal year, we would not be able to afford that. Many of the departments are housed together. This is the former Rota High School campus, where we house Department of Community and Cultural Affairs. We house Department of Commerce, Department of Labor, Department of Lands and Natural Resources, 19th Rota Municipal Council. We do have PSS Mental, one of their divisions there. And so they all share the meters that is covered by the municipality. And so those would also need assistance. What we cover prepaid are the Department of Public Safety, the buildings, as well as defense. But some of those, because they have multiple locations, we cover postpaid as well. So utilities is going to be a really big factor. But we appreciate working with the Office of Grants Management, and we are trying to support and apply for renewable energy for solar panels to be placed so that we can help reduce costs of the utilities for those government facilities. With that said, I also ask for the support of this body to allow flexibility and suspend all restrictions regarding our revolving accounts and allow the respective expenditure authorities the ability to utilize the funds for operational expenses. The support of our legislatures with this amendment has empowered our office to be able to provide services and create programs for our youth and our general public. The governor's proposal did not include funding under our operations account, but by allowing each respective expenditure across for access and flexibility to use our revolving accounts, we will be able to address our need for fuel, communications, office supplies, etc. So we humbly ask to continue with this support until we are able to find other sources of funding that can replace the stream of income. I also want to thank the support of our central government under the leadership of Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apotek, along with our CDMI legislatures who have been instrumental in providing assistance with our various requests throughout the year. Of course, Rota and the governor has said it, we have the most depleted resources, and we would not have been able to survive without the support of our local and federal partners. I also want to thank the Rota leadership, my colleagues, the mayors of the respective islands, all my resident department heads, their employees, and my hardworking staff for their endless support and patience. It really has been a difficult challenge, but we have really relied on one another for support, and we have been able to make things happen. And with the very limited resources available, we were able to manage to continue to provide services, address our outstanding liabilities, and execute our plans to build a more vibrant community. But we want to do more, and we need to do more because our people deserve it, but we cannot do it without your help. So we humbly ask for the support of this body, and we hope that you take the time to consider all the requests made not only by myself, but by my resident department heads. And with that said, I am ready to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify some of the information you mentioned, you said that your office alone, the library where you're currently at, you operate at about 10K in utility expenses a month?
But for the past few months, because our air condition has been down, the price has dropped to about like 7,000.
Okay, and which agencies are you currently covering?
So currently it's just my office and my office with the library attached. We used to house an office of personnel management, but because it's been too, the environment has been unsafe for them to work in as it becomes too hot in the afternoon. We have worked out an agreement for them to shift to the old high school campus, and so they are housed next to DLNR.
So but you're not covering any other utilities for the other agencies?
No. I mean, I'm in my building, it's just my divisions. Department of Finance is there, but there's only a few or a division that's there. I believe it's the procurement office, but we are trying to work on an agreement for them to relocate and have all the divisions together.
No, but earlier, I think you mentioned that you were covering the utilities for defense and DPS, is that correct?
Yes, so for DPS, they have prepaid meters, so
you're paying for that?
Yes.
Do you know what's their monthly average?
Yes, hold on.
So DLNR pays its own utilities?
DLNR?
Yeah.
No, we cover all the departments that are under the old high school, the municipality covers that.
What about okay, so in total, what's the monthly utilities for all departments that you are currently covering?
Just give me a moment to find that spreadsheet. Would you like on a monthly basis?
Yeah.
So it's about 39,000 a month.
For all departments?
Yes.
Do you know of any revolving?
Oh, I apologize. So these are just for the Nighthawk meters, according to my chief, the regular meters. So this is separate from the prepaid meters. So that one we pay in advance.
Okay. But, okay, so going back, how much, I know you paid in advance, but what would you say would be the average cost for the ones that are currently on prepaid?
But that's the month. So what we have in our tracking is that we paid about 25,000 in advance payment. The breakdown here, we just have accounts, but that is separate from what we have in the regular meters. So I would say roughly. So the 25,000 covers 18 Nighthawk meters that we have throughout our departments. And then separate from the regular meters. So with the regular, we have 36, the Nighthawk 18. So we have a little over 50 that we cover for the whole
50 meters?
municipality, yes.
So if you were to just say on an average, inclusive of all meters, whether postpaid or prepaid, what's the monthly expense?
So about 50,000
50,000?
monthly for the whole department and the municipality. This is including municipal council as well.
Are you aware of any revolving accounts with these agencies that maybe they could take responsibility for their own utilities? That way it could free up some of your funds for the ones that don't have revolving accounts.
So there's still some discrepancies, I know, with Department of Commerce, as I think all, a lot of the deposits are all inter-island, they share the account, and so I know they've been trying to work with the Department of Finance to try to identify which actual receipts are for Rota. That way that will determine their use. I know with DPS and defense, they do have some costs, but majority of the times they use that for fuel or other necessities they have. And so really the reliance for the utilities has been on the office.
Okay. Do you know what's your current budget or current balance for the tobacco settlement fund?
Yes, so our current balance is we have about 32,563.83 cents.
Are those obligated or are those reserved?
And these are available, but these are available.
So they haven't been obligated for?
Not yet.
Okay. I know in the beginning of the year, you had some issues with the hot tax. What's the status with that now?
So I do know Congresswoman did get a certification that shows we had some available funds in there, but on our end, it still shows a negative 4,693.17 cents. So we are not able to have any access to that. I know part of what we try to do with the Secretary of Finance to see if we could just do a partial payment where we could use half of the allotments submitted to the office and the other half to pay off what was owed. But we were not able to do that. And so we just have to clear the negative balance. And then once we do that, whatever's available, we will have access to that.
What was the balance that was inherited?
I think about, I don't know the exact, I apologize. I know it's over 30,000. Yes. So I know it was a little over 30,000.
So just around 30, but then with the, have you had or requested for a breakdown of the allotments for the HOT? Because by now it should be well over 200,000 maybe at this point. If the allocated amount is 300,000 for the year, by now you should be seeing some of that money. So is that not the case?
Not right now, and our end is still showing negative, and our budget officer had issues looking this morning, but as of last week, it was still showing that it was negative. Congresswoman did provide a certification that showed that we had about like 8,000 in there, but it's different on our end.
Okay, are you able to provide us, maybe we'll have our fiscal analyst who can do it, but if you can provide a copy before our staff leaves on your, I guess, maybe a statement on that particular account so that we can have it verified. Because
Yes,
like I said, by now, well, by September 30th, you should have 300,000, but if the balance from last year is negative 32, that should have been covered already. So we'll assist in trying to see where you're at with the allotments in that sense.
Thank you.
So of the 250,000 that was allocated for utilities, I know you average about 50,000 a month. Well, we haven't seen what the House will propose. Do you suggest we leave that 250 under that utilities allocation, or are you able to cover utilities some other way so we can move some of that money for operational expenses?
So if the committee or the legislatures are allowing us flexibility with the revolving accounts, that really has provided a bridge for our operations. We would like the utilities to just focus on utilities, and we're trying to work out, we've of course had to show good faith with the CUC, so we somewhat paid 50,000 on our previous amount, just to show good faith that if we do have available funds, we will pay what is owed. But we are working with the CUC director here, and at that time it was Ms. Betty Terlahi, to try to see what we can do for the municipality. Because we've had incidences where it was Department of DPS that is under prepaid meter, and because we were not able to get available funds in time, we've had that disconnected. So, we're trying to see how we can get that reversed, where DPS at least, because as they are a crucial agency, that they be converted to postpaid and everything else. But we can't afford it this time, and because there's no available funds, we're asking to somewhat stretch that out or convert to postpaid, at least for the next fiscal year. I do know there was a memo that was issued to have them convert already, starting. It was a thing a couple of months ago where they had to disconnect Department of Finance and to convert. But I was explaining, because we have no available funds, this is not the best time, and the approach was not the best way to communicate that to us, where both agencies can be able to transition accordingly. We've also have issue because currently the housing facility on Saipan is under the Office of Governor, and speaking to SAA Babalta, he'd like that to kind of be given back to the municipalities of Tinian and Rota, and that's another additional cost that we cannot afford to cover, and definitely the money allocated would not be enough to cover all of that.
Okay. Now moving on to communications. Is your office covering all communication expenses for all the agencies? And
Not
so
all. So there are some departments that do cover their own, like defense covers their own, commerce covers their own. What my office provides or pays for is mayor's office. We cover the DLNR, we cover DPW, we cover DCCA, we cover Department of Finance. And majority of the others are able to cover their own.
Okay. And what's the monthly average?
About 4,000.
And how are you currently paying for that?
So with our general allotment that we have from this fiscal year, we get about 9,000 every month. So a portion of that covers the communication.
Okay. And sorry, members, just one last question before I hand the floor over. You mentioned that you currently have 106, but you are requesting for 110. The 4 additional FTEs, would that be worked out with the governor's allocated personnel allocations that is being proposed, or are you also requesting for funds for those additional 4 FTEs?
Well, we would love additional funds, of course, but what we at least ask is to maintain the 106 that we have, because on the governor's proposal, it's 103. That means I have to remove 3 FTEs. So what we are currently available is 110, but we don't have that many staff. We have 106 with a few of them being routed. That's what we ask, at least, is to maintain that 106. But if this body can find additional funds to give us, we would definitely appreciate that assistance.
Well, we'll certainly try, but with the 106, sorry, the 3 additional FTEs that were not covered by what's in the governor's proposal, would those 3 additional FTE salaries be
Covered by our,
will be
yes.
covered by what was proposed by the governor?
Uh,
That may mean an adjustment in salaries, I would assume.
Yes, because we have a slight reduction in our budget, so there would be an effect to it, but we can work out the numbers, but at least to maintain. But this is where, again, we appreciate Congresswoman Julie's application of, because, for example, many of our staff, their salaries are at 16,000 in comparison to Tinian, where many of their lowest salaries are at 19,000. And to live here in Rota is much more costlier than it is to live on Tinian or Saipan. And so that's just something for consideration. And this is where we ask for parity, for amongst the islands.
Okay, thank you. And do you have an idea? I know I've been working at least with DPW, but just overall, how many civil service positions were affected by any vacancies that occurred that at the time the budget was submitted were not filled, and so those positions were taken out?
One.
Just one?
Yes.
Okay. And that would be for that DPW or some
Yes.
Okay.
So DPW initially had concerns. I think there was about 3 FTEs that weren't included, but after speaking with Secretary Yumo, we were able to work that out, and so it was reduced to 1. So there is just, we humbly ask for consideration to, to bring back that budget for that 1 FTE. And there was also another request we have for DCCA, because there's 1 FTE that equates to with the salary of $40,000, but this current employee has been shifted to a federal account that covers that salary. And so what we wanted to do is break that down into 2 FTEs. And so that's something we've been working with Congresswoman, and I've recommended if that can be covered, and I'm gonna ask for the support of this body to provide that to DCCA as well.
This would be the initials DO?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mayor. The floor is open to any of the members. Recognize Senator Rota.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mayor. I want to commend you publicly for tearing down the municipality's debts. I know that's not an easy feat, especially something that was inherited from the previous administration. So thank you to you and your leadership here at Rota. Where do I even begin? What was the total debt you inherited that you're now trying to clear?
It was about roughly about 160,000.
You mentioned about the municipality's revolving account. Are you talking specifically about the mayor's office? What is?
So this is the tobacco funds.
Okay.
Initially, the tobacco funds are only slated for programs that promote the prevention or use, but because, this body, along with the Congress or the House of Representatives were able to allow us that flexibility. So it's bridged us to use that funds for operational costs.
Okay, I support giving you the flexibility. I also support, just so you know, at least keeping the Rota mayor staff at 106. I will support that. I'm pretty sure we can cut it somewhere else. It's not a big ask, I think. But we recently, just last month, received a report from the Secretary of Finance, and it says here the mayor of Rota under sub-account or business unit. 7657, that's a revolving account. It had, as of June of last month, 2024, had a balance of 138,000. I don't know if you're seeing that.
That's our tobacco account.
Okay.
So Senator, we cover all the fuel for the departments or majority of the departments. And so that has been one of the biggest expense that we have is the fuel. And we were able to address some of the needs of the community in terms of purchasing or procuring items to address pipelines, to address not maintenance, but areas of maintenance and safety issues. So that's where majority of the funds have been used.
And there's currently a balance of 32,563, you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Okay. But there's also a Rota coffee project. It's very little amount, but are these revolving accounts for the municipality something that you can take control of?
So we really want to invest and push for the coffee project because we see the big potential. And we are working with a Japanese company, the UCC from Japan. They've already visited and they've just visited us just recently to see where we are with this. And we have a goal to complete this project by next year. And so whatever funds is available there, we would like to maintain it there just to support that project. This is a great way to export out of Rota and help stimulate our local economy.
I agree, and I believe in order to raise the economy of the entire CNMI, we need exports, not because we import 99.5% of our commodities and goods here. So we need an export, and that is the very reason why we cannot turn or leverage our Jones Act waiver. From a business perspective, businesses bring in containers, but we have nothing to export out so that it cushions the cost for these shipments that are coming in. So I commend that project. How many MOUs do you have currently?
About 4.
And where are they located?
One is to MBA, and the rest are to DCCA, the aging office.
And what's the total cost of those 4 FTEs?
So they're still under, it comes out of our budget. We just place it there for support. So MBA is a big partner for us to maintain the cleanliness and beauty of our island, and that's our way to partner with MBA.
How much is the total cost of these 4 employees?
I can just roughly say about like 80,000 because their salaries vary between 16 to 18,000. So I can just say 75 to 80.
What are the revenue sources for the municipality?
So we have the identification cards, and then we
And how
have.
much does that generate per year?
So, do you have them?
Roughly.
It varies, Senator. It varies. I can't give you an exact amount. It varies.
Okay, what other revenue sources does the municipality realize?
I believe that's,
That's it?
to my knowledge, that's all that we,
We need to work on it.
yes.
Sorry,
for the
do we
mayor.
still have the lease payments from mobile? Is that still ongoing?
Yes, it is, but mobile, what they do is they provide $1,000 worth of fuel every month. So yes, that's part of it as well, and that contributes towards our operation expense. And I believe they're also required to donate cones or the foam for defense. So that's stipulated in the lease agreement.
And what are your priorities right now?
So
Moving forward strategically for economic development, what is your priority?
So infrastructure, definitely, and this is why we've been so aggressive trying to apply for as many grants. And again, I have to thank the governor and lieutenant governor for getting us personnel, a specific grant writer for Rota. And so we've been very aggressive, even the chief and I write grants to help expand and try to funnel through as much money and projects that we can have for Rota. But it's to build here. It's been over a decade where we've had anything to build, and a lot of the things that we would like, we need the proper facilities to be able to host them. And many of our people are leaving. And so we need to try to trigger or figure out a way that we can bring people to Rota, have them spend and support our local business. And then, of course, I truly believe it'll be a ripple effect to help stimulate our economy here.
Okay, and how does your budget priorities align with those?
So we need the personnel to help with that. One of the priorities too is to export, and one of the things we want to bring back our people is to get back into farming, as that's a great way for our people to subsidize their income. And by encouraging our people to farm, whether it's to provide for themselves or hopefully expand into commercial, this is a great way to contribute to the number of commercial farmers that we have on Rota. Rota, we have abundance of land here, and I know that with the proper strategic training and support from NMC or any other experts, we can definitely plant, harvest, and export many more fruits, vegetables, and root crops. And this is a great way to help. But yes, that's also one of the things that we would love to do.
Thank you. I was there at Myla in Guam when you presented. You are to be commended for pushing, farming. If I may, I would like to put you in contact with a Korean investor who wants to look into AI, artificial intelligence farming, greenhouses. They wanted to partner with CREASE, NMC CREASE, to plant and export Korean strawberries. And it can be done with AI greenhouses. So if I may, I'd like to put you in contact with this gentleman that I know. He has been here in Rota, but they were looking at other economic activity for Rota, and they just recently talked to me about strawberries in particular.
Thank you.
And that's another thing I wanted to mention to you, because you're trying to build back the farming industry, agricultural industry here in Rota, is to try and look into AI farming as well. You've mentioned that infrastructure is one of your priorities, but how do you hope, and this is what I hope that you look into, once assuming we get the infrastructure in place, and by the way, the military is on its way to make a major investment in Rota as well, I'm aware of that. But once the infrastructure is here, how do you hope to sustain it? Because we're going to be back in this problem of maintenance and sustaining these infrastructure. So I hope that's something that when we plan, when the CNMI plans, the leaders plan, I hope that's something they take into consideration. So how do you hope to sustain newer infrastructure, advanced with technology to keep in pace with what's trending now?
So there's so much new technology. We don't have to go back into the cement blocks and all the, what the traditional construction options are. And so there are many different ways that we can infuse advanced technology here on Rota. It's just to get access to that. But one of the things we want to do is because so many people are leaving Rota and they leave with their knowledge, they leave with their skills. And, by building the infrastructure here, the homestead villages, or even the farming, and this is where the partnership with DPL is so important, we can bring people back, and with them coming back, especially if they've earned certifications, they've pursued higher education, they can bring their knowledge and their skills with them to build our community. Many people here are very talented, and I know that we can help promote entrepreneurship here. And when many of our people have great ideas, it's just many of them are not willing to take that risk right now. We do have available financial institutions here, whether it be the bank or with CETA or with SBDC. There's a lot of opportunities that can help businesses or people who want to start a business. But because of the environment with the austerity looming, and people are just not ready to make that, to take that step.
Has CETA ever visited Rota
Yes.
to recently to promote their SBDCI microloans or whatever entrepreneurial, activities they have?
Well, when we say they visited, I know that they have, even for the past couple of years, Rota has garnered the largest number of business loans, amongst the three islands. So we do know their presence. It's just very difficult. I do know when there's a new hire for SBDC, that people know that these funding sources are available. But again, it's just many of them would not be willing, because for many of our people who earn 16 to 18,000, what do they spend their money on? They spend it on utilities, on food, so they don't have time to dream. How can they invest whatever little monies they have to something, as big of a risk as that? And so this is where we need to just provide access and opportunities for them, because many of our people have great ideas. I've heard them, and we've encouraged them to open up businesses, but it's just not the right time for them.
Also, you mentioned about converting from postpaid to prepaid and how now is not the right time. My personal home is on prepaid Nighthawk, and I find it to be cheaper, in fact, than postpaid. And I don't know what it is, but I suspect it's because there are 3 tiers in the residential rate, and I don't think the prepaid meter knows when you switch, when you've reached that next tier, so you don't get charged the extra surcharge. And I don't know if that's what's happening, but I find I've been on prepaid since it first started with tokens, and I find it cheaper. So that's something that you may consider. What is the setback? What is the cost to convert from postpaid to prepaid?
If I just may clarify, Senator, that comment I made is for the government facilities. CUC would like to convert the government facilities from postpaid to prepaid, yes. And
Great.
because we don't have any funding source available to cover utilities right now, that is something that we're trying to work with CUC, if we can allow us time until the next fiscal year when we do have funding allocated for utilities. But I know many of our people, many of our staff have shared that they are on the prepaid meter. They say it's a lot cheaper too. So overall, I'm not sure how many of our residences are on prepaid, but
It's
many
just
people.
that government rate,
Yes,
right? That's
yes.
killing. There is a bill that to lower or to terminate the government rate. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I know any way that we can save money is something that we will support. And, truly, I personally believe that we just need to shift to renewable energies. There's no way that we can stay on status quo. We cannot afford it. That's why many people are leaving. And so any way that we can save money, that's something that we need to try to partner and the conversations need to be made. I know it'll affect some agencies, but we have to swallow that if we're thinking of the bigger picture and saving overall funding and monies for not only the government, but for the community as well.
Thank you, I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Rota. I recognize Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Hafa-day and good morning, Mayor, and to everyone who's here for today's budget hearing. Thank you very much for your leadership. I can sense the compassion and consideration for your people and just finding many different ways to try and assist them in any way that you can. So thank you for that. As Senator Babauta said earlier, where do we begin? There's just so many to look at and consider and try to find ways to accommodate, your requests and needs. So if we could just go back to the personnel. I know that you said you're currently at 106, but you are requesting for 110.
So currently the general or the public law allows us for 110 FTEs, but we only have 106 employed right now. We have a few that are being routed. And so with the governor's proposal, he reduced it to 103. So our request is to at least maintain it to 106. So that way everybody who is being processed will be employed into the next fiscal year.
And do we know what those 4 FTEs that were removed from the 110?
So what we did is we took the salaries of those 4 and just somewhat shifted them out. That's where that difference is.
And what impact would that have, if any, to your municipality if you stay at the 106?
Well, I know there's a slight difference or reduction. We would just have to reduce salaries somewhere in order to cover the difference. But we ask for at least the status quo.
So does the municipality intend to fill all 110 FTEs or kind of use the budgeted for the 4 FTEs to kind of, supplement some of the shortfalls in other areas?
Well, we asked for the 106. The current personnel it divides up into the 106 personnel. And so we asked for that. But again, if this body is able to provide additional funding, that would greatly assist our people. There was a recommendation by Congressman Julie to increase from the 16,000 to 19,000, and so to somewhat match with the neighboring islands. And so that's something I'm very hopeful and hope that this body can accommodate. And again, I do understand, and there's no way, we recognize the need to be frugal, and we've had to cross our T's, dot our I's very, very finely because we recognize the need to be very prudent in what we spend our monies on. So we recognize that.
So how much are you looking for the 4 FTEs?
So our current request is the 2 for the office alone. For my office is the 229,427. That's our request.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's inclusive of the personnel. And that's just, okay. Yes, so that's to cover the 106.
Okay.
That's inclusive of the 106 personnel for the municipality of Rota. For my office alone.
Okay. Moving along to your utilities. So you had mentioned that at some point you're planning to convert from the postpaid to prepaid meters, right? And funding is the issue right now, which is hindering you guys from moving forward with that conversion. But do you have an anticipated or estimated time of when you think you can convert over to prepaid?
So just to clarify, Senator, it's not us planning, it's CUC.
Or CUC?
So they've already even, they've done this with one of our departments, where they just, transferred, or disconnected their power to convert them to prepaid without really properly assessing. And we've talked that out with the, CUC, and we were able to address that. But of course, we were gonna not delay as much as we can, but in good faith, we did make a payment in our arrears to show that if we do have funding, we will pay our dues. But with the current assessment, even with the fundings available, the 250 is not gonna cover the full fiscal year. But what we've asked is to actually convert at least the critical agencies, DFEMS, DPS, back to postpaid, because even in the event that we can't afford to pay, but they will at least sustain their power or access to power.
Okay. Do you guys still have any outstanding balances with CUC?
We have a lot, Senator.
Do
It's
you have
tremendous. It's just the utility, the streetlights alone is at over $1 million. And then, of course, each of the respective, or with the office, we do have arrears. So it's significant, and we do not have the funding to cover it.
Can I just get an estimated total of what the outstanding balance is? Because I'm not sure if you're aware, but the Senate President did create a special committee to help reconcile and investigate what the total outstanding balance is of the unpaid government account. So it would greatly help if I could get some information as to how much the municipality of Rota still has on their books showing as outstanding balances.
Yes, so we can get an accurate figure for you, and we'll do a division breakdown and provide that to you guys.
Great, thank you. And are you guys comfortable with the outstanding balances on your books versus what have you and CEC reconciled the accounts to make sure that both parties have the same amount of outstanding balances?
Well, we can definitely work on that to make sure that it's reconciled and that it does match. We will reach out to them and make sure on our end. We've just, whatever bills that we've received, we put them in the ledger, and that's just what we document. But in terms of not really questioning, but I guess to verify, we haven't done that yet, but we can definitely work with CUC on that.
I'm just curious, has CUC reached out to you guys to reconcile accounts? Because when we brought them into the Senate for the hearing, there was an agreement between CUC and the government as requested by Department of Justice and EPA that certain accounts are reconciled at certain times. And I can give you the date of when that hearing took place, because it's really laid out what the strategic plan is between CUC and the government, and how to reconcile the accounts within a given time frame. So if they haven't, maybe, I know that they're supposed to reconcile the top 15 accounts every month, right? And then based on that reconciliation, pay a percentage. The government is to pay a percentage until it pays down all the outstanding balances. So if not, we need to check with CUC what's going on and see if they're on track. But more importantly, I just want to make sure that what they're claiming is outstanding for the municipality of Rota is indeed the outstanding that Rota agrees to, right? Because it has to be both parties.
So we do meet with the CC director and his team. In fact, we've cross-referenced different accounts, and that's where we were able to close out some meters that are really not important, not important, but it's not a priority because people do not use it. And so we were able to disconnect that and shift, because what we've done is provide meters in advance throughout all the public facilities. So we're able to close out what is not necessary and transfer out some of those available funding through other areas that are more utilized by our community or by our government if we do have community programs. So we have had discussions with CUC, but in terms of reconciling, that is something that I will have our team work on with CUC.
Okay, great, thank you for that. And in your conversations with CUC to convert the postpaids to prepaids, do you know if CUC actually has the prepaid meters available for when you guys are ready to move forward with the conversion?
So I believe they do, because that was what they were trying to do, but we've asked for consideration to hold off on that until we are more financially capable to pay upfront. And so we've been very thankful with the partnership with CUC that they've accommodated our request. And again, be hopeful for next fiscal year. But our request specifically is for the crucial agencies like DPS, DFEMS, if they to, yeah, or convert, because they're currently in prepaid. But we will, our recommendation is to convert them to postpaid.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. And do you know if CUC is requiring you guys to pay off any outstanding balances before you can even move into prepaid? Or is there flexibility?
There's a little flexibility, but one of the issues that we need to address is our Navy Hill on Saipan, and that's something we do have a large outstanding bill, and there is some payments that they're requiring before we can get that back on, and that's one of the things that we're prioritizing with our patients on Saipan. As you do know, there's a lot of services here that are not offered that our people need in terms of the medical care that they need. And so many of them have to seek care on Saipan. And we have a good number of residents who seek dialysis on Saipan. And so we provide the housing for them, and the facilities that we have are not really conducive to them. And so they would like larger spacing just to be more comfortable, right, for the overall care, and the Navy Hill is our next priority that we want to work on.
Okay, great, thank you. Then moving on to, the revolving account. So you're requesting to suspend the restrictions on the revolving accounts to allow you to use the monies for operations such as fuel, communications, etc. How many revolving accounts do you guys have?
So really it's just the tobacco funds. We do have MBA, and there's great plans for that because MBA can be used to address a lot of the maintenance issues that we have. Working with the delegation, we did get some funding to address a lot of the public facilities. But if we were to bid that out, we would not be able to afford it. So what we've been doing is having our personnel address them, because we do have skilled workers. It's just there's so many projects and not enough skilled workers. Currently, our team with the DPW are working to expand our bus stop facilities. We have many of our children who share one small 10 by 10 area, and there's two specific areas where many of our kids utilize for bus transportation, and we want to make sure we take care of them and address this issue before the school year resumes in August.
Great. Moving along to the hot tax. So this is very concerning. Per your books, you are showing a negative balance of $4,693.17, correct? Mm-hmm. And what is the Department of Finance's balance according to their books?
So, where's my budget? She's asking for Department of Finance. So we are just referencing to what we see in our end, because we can't process or upload if it's negative. So that's something I will work with my resident department head for finance to address that and provide that letter or explanation, or on our end what it is in regards to the hot tax.
So you don't know yet what is causing the discrepancy between what you're seeing in your system versus what Saipan is seeing.
Yes.
But according to Saipan, you have sufficient funds to move along with your expenditures.
Yes, and this is through the certification provided by Congresswoman Ogle, where it showed we did have a surplus of available funds, but on our end, it's still, we're not able to access because it's showing negative and we can't upload.
Is the OIT assisting you guys with trying to look behind the scenes, what's going on with the system? Or are they just kind of leaving that to you?
Yes, my budget officer is saying that he does communicate with them and they do provide assistance.
I know, but what are they seeing on their end that you guys are not seeing?
Well, that's something that we can look into and get into, because we do, I ask almost on a weekly basis, where are we with our hot tax, where are we with our available funds, but, and we are also waiting for other funding that their local delegation has allocated for the municipality to address some of our immediate needs. So we know there's a lot of things going on, but we do check and follow up to see if those funds have been deposited.
I'm just trying to see whether or not it's something on their end that they may have possibly forgotten to either check something in the system, you know. It's a very sensitive system, so if they, you know, don't check a certain field in the system, it can cause and create issues like that on your end, right? So just thought I'd throw that out.
Thank
But,
you.
yeah, definitely some, how long has this been like idle, I guess?
Well, the negative account has been a lot higher, and so we do know of a few deposits that have reduced this
Okay.
down to what it is now that we see. But my budget officer said that he will verify and call once we conclude this budget hearing.
And finance has been consistent in making sure that you guys are, the transfers out to you guys for hot tax is prompt. Okay, kindly.
Okay.
So, Sean?
Okay, so we just got a text from Department of Finance showing that there is funding there.
Okay.
So
And then
that's
you guys
something
will
that
just
we'll
verify on
verify,
your end.
yes, yes.
That's great news.
Thank you.
Okay, I was watching the budget hearing with the House. I believe that was on June 27th with you guys. And I just had some follow-up questions during that hearing. There was a mention of duplicate ARPA funds. Can you, for the members who hasn't seen the hearing, can you just share with us
Sure.
what that was about?
So we're very happy to share that the finance did an audit of our ARPA, and they were able to identify that there were some duplicate entries. And so after sibling everything out, they identified that we did have some funds once they finished their audit. And so this is the funds that we've used to clear majority of the liabilities that were incurred by the municipality.
Okay, so how much, does Rota still have any ARPA funds left?
We have about 30 some thousand left.
30K. And that's the remaining of your ARPA. Has that already been obligated or?
So what we've used outside the clearing of the debt this is the funds that we use to pay in advance, the prepaid accounts. So we've charged it to the ARPA account.
Okay, and then just going back to MVA, so does Rota project their own revenues, or is that something that MVA as a whole in Saipan does for all the islands?
So I believe it's MVA. One of the biggest issue is bringing people here, right? And so that's something that needs to be addressed. We are looking at other options, especially to the market on Guam, we're really looking to see how we can expand the use of the water to transport people from Guam to Rota. Many of the people, the military families there that we've talked to are interested and they wouldn't mind traveling via boat. And that's something we're trying to work on as an option to expand to bring more people into Rota.
Okay. And does Rota rely on MVA's, I guess, numbers for the hot tax, or do you guys like individually or independently track the number of visitors that arrive into Rota and the number of the occupancy rate to ensure that whatever is being remitted to Rota is truly what is due to you guys based on your guys' tracking?
So we just rely on MBAs because of course they're bound by, the laws and policies to be able to identify that amount. So we just rely on with MBA, but we do partner with them. They've assisted us with a lot of our community projects, our community events in terms of providing sponsorship funds. But there is a lot more that we can do to help promote Rota and to see and address a lot of because there's a lot of things that we can offer. And I do know, in fact, the MBA team will be here, I believe, next week. And that's just something that they want to introduce. They've shared that they have some recommendations to have new programs here. So I'm looking forward to that conversation with them.
Okay, thank you for that. In the budget hearing with the House, you guys also talked about the patients going to Saipan for some of the services that are not available here in Rota. Could you just share with us what are some of those critical services?
Yes.
And whether or not, you guys have had conversations with CHC to see how they can bring those services here to minimize the cost of traveling there. I understand that the dialysis is probably not one of them, and this is why I'm asking, what are some of those other critical services that perhaps could be, offered here on Rota as well?
So we lack prenatal care here. Many of our soon-to-be mothers or mothers have to travel to seek follow-up appointments or to deliver safely their child. We also, I do know they do send their doctors here to provide in terms of terminal illness, but if there is equipment that they may need, this is where our people would have to travel to Saipan or even Guam to seek the care that they need because we don't have that here. We do have a dialysis facility here, but it is not up to par in terms of the standard that would require them to be able to hold that. I know many conversations or the reasoning behind our inability to have the dialysis here is one, the facility, and two, it's just going to be too costly to cover the doctor and the nurses required to safely execute the dialysis in comparison to how many patients we have.
So has there been a cost analysis done to show really that the cost of bringing the doctors here and the medical equipment is higher than what it is costing you guys now to send your patients to Saipan and incur all these traveling expenses?
So, well, that's something I think we would need to update because, if we really were to have the dialysis patients return to Rota and for CHCC to pay, because many of them seek care 2 to 3 times a week, and understanding that it's $165 one way, right? And for that travel times 3 round trip tickets, and with the hotel and transportation, it's definitely a big increase. And that's something that I would recommend and ask for employer lobby with our delegation to see how they can support that. I do know CHCC that we have talked and they have expressed too their financial that they're somewhat strapped as well, right? And so this is where the partnership and the conversation needs to take place. But really, we need to make sure that we provide these services to our people.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess I bring this up because I'm not sure if you've already had a chance to look at today's paper or even the document that was circulating yesterday regarding Star Morales terminating services, I think effective October. And I'm assuming that's not set in stone. I'm sure that, there's going to be a lot of conversation taking place from now until then. But I guess we just want to be cognizant of that and start preparing and planning for and that, I mean, we would hate for that to happen because there's only really one service, or maybe the other cargo airline, right? But it's just so unfortunate that the people of Rota have to be put in such a predicament as that, where their lives are greatly affected, and so if we can bring those services here, to reduce that stress level of having to think of things like that, I think it's just one of the sacrifices that CHCC would have to find a way to bring some of the services, not all, I understand, but this is where we need to see some cost analysis, how much is it really costing CHC to provide this kind of service versus, them bringing it here, but really it all comes down to the safety and welfare of the people of Rota, so that's definitely a conversation that needs to happen with CHCC. And then I guess you were talking about the housing cost on Saipan Sunshine Garden, I believe. And how much is it costing Rota on a monthly basis for just the rentals?
So currently it's 1,500. This is per room, per month. Yes, 1,500. And so CHCC has, spoken, or the director of Rota Health Center has reached out and shared the CHCC. It's they can no longer cover that cost because they already consider the patient's residents of Saipan because they have to stay there because of dialysis care. But we can't, neglect them. We have to provide some sort of housing. And so this has really prompted the Rota delegation. I've sought their assistance to find funding for us to help renovate the current facility. And this is one in Aslito. It's actually owned by NMHC, and so we have an agreement, an MOU where they allow the municipalities of Rota and Tinian to utilize the facility to house these patients. And we've renovated them, but some of the rooms there are so small. And so this is some of the concerns that the patients have. And it's an old facility where, the piping is an issue. When it rains, the septic floods. And so we've addressed that. And then we've tried to see how we can bring the facility up to par. But we're very hopeful now in our next priorities to address or renovate the Navy Hill facility because they are larger rooms and they can be more accommodating for our patients to be more comfortable. That's what it is. And so many of them recognize that it's very difficult for them to return home. And so being in a small room can be it can be depressing for many of them. And so that's something that our delegation have talked with the patients. We've had meetings with them. They've shared their concerns about some of the things, and we're hoping for the funding that they've allocated to allow us access to address some of those issues that they've shared.
Okay, thank you for that. I think $1,500 for, I don't know how large the room is, but it's pretty excessive, I think. How many units would you say on the average are you guys paying for your patients?
So for the municipality, we have not taken over that bill yet, but we have about 3 dialysis patients living at Sunshine. 4. And when there are short travel or short-term patients who seek care, whether it's an appointment or a couple of days, I think that's prorated in terms of depending on the night that they stay. Yes, okay. But that one is covered by CHCC.
Got it. Great. Thank you. Even more reason why with that amount of money being spent on a rental could be, used to make the improvements and repairs and on the buildings that you guys are working on. So thank you for your efforts. There was a discussion on municipal council. There was an allocation of $20,000 for travel. Is that just for inter-island travel, or is it inter-island and outside of the CNMI?
I'm going to yield to our council members,
Okay.
and I believe the chairman is here, and he can answer that question.
Okay, okay. And then just 5,000 for office supplies for the entire year?
Is that for municipal council?
Yes.
Okay. Again, I'm going to yield
Okay,
to our
okay.
council members for them to respond to your question.
And I guess I should defer to the Department of Finance for their travel expenses. So that's all I have for now. Mayor, thank you, Chair. Are you?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Just two thoughts on what was brought up earlier. The MVA, I know you mentioned that they often provide support, and we just had their budget hearing last about a week and a half ago. And one of the concerns that I brought up was that all they really do, other than really market or promote the activities on Rota, is throw money at these events without properly collecting data. And so that's the concern that I brought up, is that you're never really going to see the impact that the money that they're giving the municipality has on being able to attract tourists. I mean, it's great that we have these activities for the community, but also we want to share and show for the hospitality that we have and the culture and traditions that we have. And so has your office, or maybe someone from MVA, Rota office, or a representative from the central office, ever really looked at the type of tourists coming in and what convinced them to come in, and what are some of the challenges of bringing in those tourists from Guam? And so I don't know if that's something that you do in regards to how many tourists we're seeing on a monthly basis, whether it be talking with the Chamber of Commerce or the hotel. Is that something that you provide MBA as to people coming in?
So for our programs, we do track in terms of how many people come in, because we do have a welcoming committee. So they do, just to gauge where we are in terms of how many people come in for that event. We have those numbers and that data. And many of our events really attract people from Guam, right? That's always been our market, but it's not to say that we don't see residents from, whether it's Japan, Korea, or where else, because we do see visitors that are here, but understandably, with only 3 flights coming in from Saipan, 1 flight from Guam, we know that the number is limited, and we can already safely just assume or gauge what that number would be, or not to exceed that number. But yes, that's something we would recommend for MVA to track. I think that's great, but we don't see a lot of people from Asian countries come during our programs. We see a lot of locals from Guam, and I can safely say that even from my time working for the former mayor, that's always been our biggest visitors pulling in is from the neighboring island of Guam.
Thank you. And also something that I brought up with them is that the hot tax by statute, it allows the expenditure authority or even the mayors to, maybe come up with some type of subsidy with airfare. Maybe a portion of it could be used. I mean, maybe that's something that the mayor's offices in the islands will have to try to look at and see if maybe using some of that money to help reduce some of the fares from, whether it be Guam or Saipan, and that'll be up to you to decide, but that's one way we can kind of address that issue in terms of air transportation expenses. Maybe the traveler can provide a hotel confirmation number or something to that effect. But yeah, those are some of the ways that we can try to attract tourists in using those hot funds. But I know you have some other projects with it. But we're really trying to equip MVA with the resources it needs, but we also want them to take responsibility and accountability towards some of the monies that they're using in these activities, other than just saying, Mayor, here's 10,000, do what you will with it, but the main goal is to try to attract, but also keep data and see how we can bring in more tourists. I know that, what do you call this, this was brought up maybe 2 fiscal years ago, and until now we haven't seen any updates from that discussion.
So I totally agree, Senator, and I am open to that. It's just that one of the things we want to do is make sure that our facilities are up to par so that when our visitors do come in, they have great things to say and they leave with good experience, so that when they leave back home or return home, that their stories are what's going to help also market and attract other people to come. And that's why the focus really has been to address the facilities here. I know you're aware of a lot of things that we are lacking here, but there is plans. We've gotten permits for some of these things, and one of the plans that we're trying to do is use some of the funding to hire more skilled workers. We've already gotten permits to build pavilions and to renovate, but it's just we're lacking the skilled laborers to do that. Many of them work for the construction companies here, and they have projects, whether it's CIP or NMHC, because there has been a lot of projects here for Rota, which is great. And so it's somewhat delayed our ability. And I've reached out to Miss Vicky at OMB to ask her, how we can hire at least temporary workers so that we can address our plans to move forward. But I'm definitely open to that. And once we have more funding in our HUD, and as updated here, we have about 30,000, or a little over 30,000. And so that's something we can look at and address for future plans.
Thank you. I mean, there's also the while we wait for these federal funds to pour in and upgrade our infrastructure, in the meantime, we can promote Rota as an eco-tourism destination in terms of, whether it be camping or, look at the fishermen out there, or the hunters, or the tour guide operators, if we have any, to provide that experience. We have great hiking spots, and nowadays, there's maybe we need that extra assistance to get our people to want to go into business, even though, it's maybe they lack the guidance. But I know we have the SBDC that has recently been pushing for community partners to come together to promote the opportunities that each businesses offer. And so hopefully that's something that we can convince the high school fishermen, that we see nowadays, or Mr. James to provide the hiking experience. And so while that's something that Rota can offer while we wait for all these infrastructure improvements to come through. And so that's why I'm really trying to get MBA to take more time to see how we can assist people here to offer these excursions, but also promote Rota more. I mean, look at the Aguilita Fest, look at Chamorro, these festivals that we have. How much is MBA putting into sharing these activities, even to our brothers and sisters on Guam? We don't really see much information on their site. Even I know that's been brought up in the House, but it's just better marketing and better promotions. So I don't know if that's something that that you have brought up with MBA, but I know you do a great job in promoting these activities through your office. I want to turn over to your equipment or your fleet. How many vehicles do you currently have in your fleet that are operating?
About 7. From my office, 7. We do have plans because we had more than that, but we transferred it to other departments. For example, like Department of Finance, 19th Municipal Council, and we do have other departments asking. And so we recognize, because we maybe use our vehicles for beautifications, we want to invest on those side-by-side vehicles because they're smaller, they're more cost efficient in terms of the fuel consumption, and that's one of the things that, in fact, OJ was supposed to help with, and we've invested in purchasing or procuring one. That way it'll free up other vehicles to help assist with the other departments' requests.
Are all the vehicles in your fleet insured? registered?
Insured, no. Registered, no.
No.
Or registered, yes, according to my chief, yes.
So it has to be insured, but if not, maybe see how much that'll cost in terms of even just basic liability insurance. In Saipan, there has been a push in getting people registered. I know several people who has already got their vehicles impounded, and so we're trying to get, we're trying to allow for the DPS also to make some of its money through issuing citations, but then also reasonably warning these people to get back into what's the word? Get everything in order in terms of registration and insurance, and also to protect the community at large. I think that's all I have for now. I know we'll wait for some of the reports that we requested. Any other members, last minute thoughts? Recognize Senator Vavata.
Thank you. I'll try and keep it short. Going back to the medical referral for Rota patients, you said $1,500 per unit, and you currently have 4 long-term patients there. How many short-term patients are currently?
So we don't have that data. All the travel arrangements are done through Rota Health Center, the medical referral office, and so they're the ones that coordinate that, and it fluctuates.
Understood. And how many are the employees for the Rota referral who are stationed in Saipan under your office?
Yes,
And you absorb the costs of those employees? Is that correct?
yes.
How many employees are currently stationed in Saipan for the medical referral, Rota medical referral patients?
About 15.
15. What is the highest number of Rota patients? And you may not know because you said Rota Health Center has the stats, right? I was just trying to figure out what was the highest number of Rota patients, in Saipan at any given time. Do you have any of that information?
In excess of 30 at one time.
And is that fairly recently? 30?
It
approximately
fluctuates, yeah. I would say within, past 2 years, that number would be, because we see even just going visiting that many of the patients, they just stand out, or they huddle and, just share, or they just hang out. So you can frequently see many patients traveling even in clusters. So what they do is, if the regular scheduled flights aren't available, they wait till there are enough and they charter to transport patients.
But a lot of those are not long-term patients.
No. Yes.
Because 15 employees for 4 long-term patients, I think is a little
Oh, no.
overboard.
We have because we've had more, but sadly, they've departed. And so at the facility, we have about 14 to 15 rooms, and we've used most of those. There's about 2 that need to be renovated or fully renovated, and then we are waiting on the funding to get the appliances like a refrigerator and other necessities that are needed there. But majority of them are at the Slito facility now. And so.
Valley Inn.
Yes, Valley Inn.
How many units are in Valley Inn? Do you know?
No, we share with Tinian. So there's I think about like 8 rooms
8
there.
units.
Yes. For Rota, separate from Tinian.
Oh, okay. And that's the one you pay 1,500 for?
No, so
The one in
1,500 is
Sunshine
referring to
Garden.
Sunshine, yeah.
Is that the one in Susupi?
Yes.
Okay. And are any of the Rota medical referral patients currently in Valley Inn? You said there's 2?
In Valley Inn?
In Aslito.
No, there's more than 2.
Oh,
Yes.
more than 2 at Valley Inn.
And there's 4 at
long-term.
Sunshine, yes, at Sunshine.
4 at Sunshine. Okay,
And there are other long-term patients who have their own place of residence on Saipan. But what we do is, if we provide assistance if they call or need, because many of them, their dialysis varies from early morning as early as like 4 o'clock. So, we have to transition our staff into shifts, because even as late as like 8 or 9,
Yes.
depending on their dialysis
I
time.
understand because of the limited
Yes,
machines.
yes. And we
Okay.
have 2 vans and 1 compact car that helps transport, and 1 truck that was transferred by Mayor RB to assist us with the maintenance.
A total of 2, 3,
4,
4
yes.
vehicles.
So 1 van is normally used for the dialysis, the other, because we also transport the short-term patients. So there can be a huge shortage of, vehicles to transport, especially if there's so many at one time.
And does the mayor's office absorb the fuel costs
Yes,
for this? How much on
Yes.
average for?
just
Medical
the
referral.
medical referral alone can be, depending if there's so many patients, it can be between 2 to 2,800. In fact, we've had to reach out to the delegation and sometimes for them to assist with donating fuel. But right now it's been on, we've been able to cover it with access to the revolving funds.
Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Recognize Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. And I just wanted to share some information. We did, as the Chairman mentioned, we did meet with FBA, I believe it was last week. Too, right? I know that last October, I believe, I did follow them to attend the expo in not Taiwan, Osaka. And, during my walkthroughs and visiting all the different destinations there, their booths, I noticed that a lot of them were already advertising all the different events and festivals and just everything that was going on in their location way ahead of time. They had this huge board, it's almost like a calendar that lists all the different events and festivals that are taking place. And I asked MVA to do a better job in marketing and advertising all 3 islands of the CNMI, right? Because a lot of people plan ahead of time. And so if you know what's going on in the different places that are out there, then they can make better choices. I know that, at least for me, like a lot of the times, the festivals that happen here in Rota, I would hear it during our miscellaneous or announcements in our session, because the senators from Rota would invite us to come down and participate. But I don't think there's enough promotion and advertisement, even on the newspapers, to let the people on Saipan know that there's these activities taking place on Rota or Tinian. And so I hope that they work very closely with your team to ensure that in all these travels that they go and participate in, that they properly market you guys, and also just help out with the whole transportation thing, because you can provide all the marketing out there, but if you're limited in transportation, it kind of defeats the purpose, right? So we just want to make sure that the amount of money that they're spending on marketing all the different islands are worth spending, and making sure that the transportation is available for the visitors to come. So just thought I'd share that with you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I think with that, Mayor, we want to thank you for your time here today. Chief of Staff, thank you. There are several things that were discussed and that we'll wait on in terms of some of the reports that you will be getting and providing to the committee before we take any action. As I stated earlier, the House hasn't passed their version of the budget, so we don't know how they're going to or what they're going to propose in terms of what you've requested and what they're able to come up with. And so if there's a discrepancy or there's a big variance between what the governor had proposed or what you're asking for and what they're going to propose, we'll reach out to your office to see how that would affect you. And so thank you again for your presence here today. And if there's anything else you'd like to add before you leave, now would be a great time.
I just want to thank you again for your time and your presence here. And I know my municipal council and all our other department heads are going to be next. And you know what their request is just to really help support and maintain the safety and operations of their respective departments. So I plead and ask for your humble support to provide any assistance for any of the requests made by them. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Members, we'll take a 5-minute recess to allow the next testimony to get settled. Thank you. committee meeting, and now joining us is Senator Dennis Mendiolo. Up next, we have the 19th Rota Municipal Council. The Rota Municipal Council submitted a budget request of $191,000 for personnel, of which $149,000 was proposed by the governor's office. It looks like they removed one FTE. For operations, the council is requesting $117,000, but was only allocated the 1% OPA fee. And so with that, before we proceed with any questions, I'd like to hand the floor over to the chairman to provide any remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and members of this body. For the record, my name is Jim Michael Atlick, and I'm the chairman for the 19th Rota Municipal Council. With me is the administrative officer, Annabelle Uzo.
Thank you, Chairman. I know on your budget requests, well, let's just start off with your personnel. Do you know what this one position that was taken off? Do you know what the issue was with that? Was it vacant at the time the budget was submitted?
That was the last budget, Mr. Chair. It was never funded. They gave us only 8. Prior to that, we have the assistance from the CARES Act. So from 9 all the way down to 8. So it was never budgeted at one position.
But you've never reappropriated out of your personnel to be able to cover an additional fee?
I can't. You're just giving these guys the minimum of what the lowest is 16,500.
Okay.
And I know you guys all know that living in Rota is so expensive, and that 10-hour cut, we eventually got on to what, $200-300 after utility. You have $10 for your meal.
Thank you, Chairman. Of the 8, are these personnel assigned to overall council, or do each of you have your own employee, and if so, how many per each of the members?
We're supposed to have each member should have 3 each member. So with the 8, we're not able to divide it to for each members to get 3 employees. So right now there's a total of 8.
So of the 8, do they all report to any one council member, or?
No, they all report to the chairman.
Okay, so these are just 8 for the entire.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and what are the duties of your 8 personnel, seeing that how the current budget does not allocate any operational expense?
I want to turn around and thank the mayor for really helping us right now, because we don't have anything, but we were trying to collaborate with the mayor. She's helping us with fuel. She gave us a vehicle that's working, so we were able to go out and provide services to the community.
What other activities are being provided by the municipal council?
And we have a lot of, we have committed programs and projects. We have the beautification, which we work again along with the mayor, beautification projects, which we have the District 1 basketball court cleanup. And we used to have the motocross, and we don't have that now. So we have the roadside cleanups, the entrance to the small islands, and just past the former road resort road. So we're cleaning that all the way to Takwa. And we have the Japanese Canyon lookouts. We clean that too. And we do have the community garden, which we provide every time we harvest, we give out to Armanamco, all this, like banana and all the stuff that we plant. And we have the Bisita Luta Deerhorn Coconut Competition. And upcoming, we have the 5th Fishing Derby, and we're looking at the having again the 2024 Youth Softball League.
And how are you able to fund these programs?
I want to thank again the mayor. Thank you, Mayor, for really helping us out. But in the absence of the operation, it really, the mayor has her own priorities too. By us stepping in there, so we're taking some of her priorities. So I ask the members of this body to please consider giving us at least little funding to our committed programs and projects.
Okay. Of the 8 employees, how many of them are or go out and perform these beautification projects?
Right now, currently have only 2 on the field because one is he's not able to perform really the field job. So we have 2 on the field right now.
And then 6 in the office?
No, because there's some employees that actually resigned and moved to the civil service. So right now we're in the process of the replacement for these employees.
So currently, as of today, how many are employed right now?
At the council?
Yeah.
So total of 6.
So you have 2 open positions.
Yes, that's in route right now.
So you have 2 in the field and you have 4 in the office right now?
3 in the office. We have the AO, chief, and then the timekeeper.
Okay. Have you ever communicated with that maybe DPL in terms of getting some funds in exchange of taking care of some of the public land? I know there's been this MOU with Parks and Recs on Saipan with providing services and maintaining some of the public land areas. And so has that been something that maybe the council has reached out?
I wish, Mr. Chair, that we can really work with DPL. Even the mayor herself is trying her best to get some properties to the municipality, but unfortunately, he was not able to.
I understand,
To get
but that's
those
between
stuff,
the mayor and DPL, but has your office, or has the council reached out to DPL to see if they can assist in that sense, in terms of providing some operational funds while at the same time taking care of some of like the private properties that, are on the cusp of being pushed out for bidding?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Maybe you can start the conversation, and if that's something that DPL is open to, then we can provide a provision for, or maybe extend that MOU to the municipal council, like how they're doing with the Saipan Parks and Rec.
Yeah, okay.
That's all I'm going to bring up for now. I know members have questions on the operational side, and I'll allow them to ask that. At this time, I recognize Senator Mendiola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to follow up on your question, I just wanted to just ask on your thoughts on the consolidated. So what are your thoughts on consolidating staff between the municipality and the council's office, just to try and work on consolidating resources? I just wanted to get your thought. I'm sure it's an unpopular question, but at this point, everybody is trying to figure out how we can find funds to try and make things work here in Rota. And a lot of our constituents do stress. They're concerned about a lot of repetitive services that we do. So with that, how do we, the question that lies before us is, how do we try and make this work? So one of the questions that was brought up is, how do we consolidate resources? And one of the most pressing is consolidating staff to try and address the programs that the council have, as well as the mayor, with the same pot of resource. So what are your thoughts on that?
Thank you for that question, Senator Dennis, but I wish that, we, on a daily basis, we don't have the same projects that the mayor does, So by doing that combination, that's a good idea, and I will agree and down, but we have different projects that we do.
Thank you for that. So when you say different projects, what differentiates the mayor's office's projects versus the council
You know,
in public service, in terms of public service?
basically almost the same, but you know, like I said, in every day we deal with different projects. So the mayor can reach all these projects. So that's we step in there and we take some of these projects for the municipal council to work.
So would you agree that providing the services, for example, roadside cleanups, would be the same as the mayor's office's projects? Some of the mayor's office's projects to include parks and recreation, to include historical preservation, to include some of these line agencies that actually, it is really their fiduciary duty to actually conduct those services. Would you agree that consolidating it would actually try and tackle the shortfall of funding? Would you agree that that would work in terms of trying to mitigate this financial issue?
I do agree with what you're saying and with that one, but like I said again, Senator, the mayor has a lot. She has a lot of things that she's tackling right now. So by not having this project on her watch, you know, it's gonna reduce down her projects.
Agreed, and that's been the common practice in the past. That's kind of one of the reasons why we have all these agencies kind of helping, because it'll alleviate some workload from the municipality itself. So I do agree, but again, this is not just attacking council or anybody in particular. It's just, you know, we're charged with the responsibility of trying to take the funding and figure out, you know, how do we make it work for the municipality, not just the municipality, but the CNMI as a whole. And I can tell you that the task is daunting at hand, given everything that we try. Pretty much all we're trying to do is take from one agency to give it to another agency, because it's the pot is not deep. So the reason why we're exploring a lot of these, you know, options is to try and make it work for the next few years, for the next year, and try and get through this dark times in terms of funding. So again, this is not to attack anybody's specific. It's really just to try and open that, you know, line of communication, so that, you know, something that we can start addressing in the future. And it doesn't have to be this budget, but something that we can work with, even if we have to, let's say, take some of the staff and move it to MOU them to other agencies to go ahead and work with those projects, and bring down, let's say, council to just really its fiduciary duty of, you know, upholding some of its municipal responsibilities. So I thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to just bring that up. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Mendiola. Recognize Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chairman. Before I proceed with my questions, did your office submit narratives along with your?
Yes, Senator.
Okay.
You said one?
I don't have it, so I'll just, because then maybe the narrative would help answer a lot of my questions.
All right, well, they're getting that.
So maybe while I'm reviewing the narrative, I can yield my time.
Yeah, and just maybe anything to help the committee with, if any of the upcoming agencies have any narrative prepared, if they'd like to share with the committee, we'd be happy to receive them. Normally, when the budget comes in, we just see what the governor had proposed and not the reasonings behind these. But then this is the opportunity to ask you about it. But if we get more time to review it, we can also provide clarifying questions. Senator Bawata, do you have anything? All right. Okay. Vice Chair, you said.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Okay, so in looking at your narrative, we have a proposed, for travel, $20,000, and the governor proposed $0. But in your justification for travel, it's for 3 council members and staff to travel for official council meetings off island. Typically, when you come up with a proposed budget for traveling, you would already have an idea as to where you are going, what you are attending, and so forth. So it's very generic. It just says it's going to Pacific Alliance of Municipal Councils, which requires each member and the clerk to travel inter-island, taking turns for every meeting conducted in each senatorial district. So one says off-island, and then the other one is inter-island. For the off-island portion of the 20,000, how many members are actually planning to go off-island, and to where and for what purpose?
For that, there's always 3 members, and we have one, which is our chief of staff that follows us. And the 20,000, it's like, traveling from here to Saipan or Guam is so expensive. So, and we do share, and we do have funding for travel. We do share with other departments that needs assistance. So we do provide that to the other departments too. It's not only us that's using that. So if they ask us for assistance, we provide that service. It's not only us that will use that. We offer it up to the departments or anybody in the government that needs assistance.
Would it be fair to say then that you, at this point in time, you don't have a specific plan of where you will be going offline, off island, and what you will be attending? This is just kind of a, how do you say it? Just have some funding in case you need to go and travel, but not necessarily having, you're looking at FY 2025. You have identified some of the, and I'm not saying that traveling is bad. You actually traveling can be very beneficial, right? For officials to go and travel and meet with stakeholders and stuff like that. So I'm not trying to attack the travel. I'm just trying to get an idea of how the number 20,000 came to the budget, and what plans do we have on how to spend the 20,000. As you have said, the airfare it is very expensive, and so if the 20,000 is to cover back and forth trips to Saipan or Tinian or maybe even Guam, do we have an estimated number of trips that we are planning to take to include, airfare, per diem, car rental, stuff like that? Normally, you would already have those listed and have an estimate as to for how many people, for how many days, and then you have, a good number, a solid number to justify the 20,000. So I'm just curious if when you submitted the budget for 20,000, if there was already a plan, for this.
Oh, no. So it depends if there's any important meetings that we're invited, There's some time we'll know
Sure.
what time or when we're gonna go. So we don't have that right now.
So normally, right, as municipal councils, there's already annual events that take place, both Saipan, Tinian, Rota, and even Guam, right, that we are invited to. So I guess that's where I was going with. Normally, we would already know what the usual festivities and events that take place in the CNMI, and we would plan for that accordingly, and that's how we arrive to the number. But I guess in hearing what your answer is, it's for contingency. It's just if when things come up, then you guys would go.
Correct.
Okay. And is it the normal business practice to use your travel budget to help other departments
If
or
it's
line agencies?
if they don't have and they really need to go, if it's a very important meeting or training that they have to go, we'll help them, That's not our money, it's the people's money.
Sure.
So we'll share it out.
That's very generous. Normally, we would have every department of line agencies plan for it, independently, but that's very considerate and generous of your office. Thank you. Then going down to machinery for 20,000, I know that you were asking for 20,000, and the governor's proposal shows 0. I think in your narrative, it's for one vehicle to be purchased for admin section to fulfill the administrative obligations such as errands, signage of documents, picking up pouches or cargo. I guess, does your office have any vehicles at this time, or?
Yes, we do have the one that the mayor gave us. It's the only vehicle we have right now.
Okay, so you have one.
And the other one is on its way to its grave already, so only one is working right now.
Okay, okay. And so okay, I mean, it really doesn't matter because you were given zero. But this is really just to understand, you know, when a department or a line agency is given the opportunity to submit their budget, this is really your opportunity to request what are your, you know, your needs and what's really critical for your office in order to achieve some of your plans for this fiscal year. So that's that. And then dues and subscriptions for $10,000. Again, zero funded by the governor, but I don't think I see the narrative for dues and subscription and what gets given me. But I'm just curious, what would, can you just share with us what types of dues and subscription your office would subscribe to for $10,000?
And I believe that's for the communication, right? Because we do pay our own phone lines. The only thing that the mayor helps us is the power source.
So that would go under communications and not dues and subscriptions?
No, I think they made a mistake on that one, but I know that the only thing that would bring is the communication.
Okay, so it's just that. Okay. How about the furnitures and fixtures? There was a request for $1,000. Yeah. Do you know what the $1,000 is for?
Is this for the chairs and tables?
Chairs and tables. Does your office currently not have?
Yes, we do have.
Okay, so just additional tables.
In case it breaks down, we just get another one. But if we don't have the funding, then start repair again.
Okay. All right. That's all I have. Thank you. I give it.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. The Pacific Alliance of Municipal Councils, how many are a member of that organization?
Currently, all 3 active members right now, the chairman, vice chairman, and the secretary.
I know. As
So
well
each
as,
3 islands, the all 3 members are members. So total, I believe, 9.
so exclusive of Guam's.
No, not one. This is only within the cinema.
When's the last time Rota hosted?
Oh, I think that was last year. It's the last meeting that we had in Rota.
When was the last meeting in general?
I'm not too sure what was the date, but then we had it. I think that was last year. We had one in Rota.
No, but just in between any of the islands,
I think that was October.
the last one.
Yes, and then that's it.
And how often does this council meet in a year?
Man, depends. For each municipality, we have some issues that we need to discuss amongst us members. So we'll go to that island to conduct a meeting to address some issues that they do have, so we can come in and help each other.
You said you currently have 2 vacant positions. Do you know when those positions became vacant?
Right now, it's in, I believe the ALC, the 2 positions in route to be filled now.
But when was it vacant? When did it become vacant?
2 months ago. 2 months. The other one's about 2 months ago. Just recently, the other one.
2 months ago?
No, about a month ago, and then the other one just recently right now.
Yeah.
Megan, because she moved to the States.
Okay. So there might be some money there. Have you considered reallocating some of those money?
Since we tried to move some money, but unfortunately, OMB won't allow us to do that. And you're only allowed, what, to transfer only $1,000?
I think that's
And
$1,000 you don't have.
$1,000 a month alone, and it's not gonna work.
But that's, again, that's $1,000 you don't have right now, so has that been considered?
We did try
Because that money will lapse, and that money
Yes,
is by September 30, you lose out on that money.
we tried, Mr. Chair, to transfer that. As a matter of fact, they wouldn't listen. I told them to write the letter to request. But when they told us that there's only $1,000 a month that we use, and I believe we owe some from the last term, I believe over $4,000.
And that's still showing as something you owe, or has that been addressed?
That's negative. It's not been addressed yet, Mr. Chair.
Do you know what reasoning was there, or what reasoning did OMB provide to that you can't reallocate those monies?
They told me that it's not enough. I believe it's only $9,000 that we're trying to transfer. That did not go through, so we ended up, I told these guys to disregard, and we're gonna go ahead and hire somebody to work.
Okay.
But if you guys can give us money to cover that 4,000, thank you.
Yeah. But you said you had 9,000 available, so that should have covered the 4,000.
But we hired somebody. We're in the process of hiring somebody for that. It was an FD that was supposed to transfer to the operation, but we canceled and we hired.
Okay. That's all I have now. Any other members? Last round? All right, seems like we have nothing else. So at this time, Mr. Chairman, we thank you for coming in. I know it's gonna be difficult to try to see how we can divvy up some of the monies that were awarded to, or were allocated for the mayor's office. One of the things that we tried to do in the current fiscal year is just provide the one-time funding to the mayor's office and then allow for the mayor to make that determination as to how to spread that 100,000 that was allocated. But it sounds like she has been providing some assistance to each of the agencies, and if that's an issue or a concern for some of the agencies, and maybe that's something that we can revisit in regards to the 250 that's being proposed for the next fiscal year. But in your testimony today, you've claimed that you've been getting a lot of the support from the mayor's office, so it doesn't sound like there's too much of a challenge there in trying to get some support from the mayor. But in any case, we'll see how the House comes up with their budget allocation for each entity, and we'll revisit that idea to see how we can divvy up or continue to leave it with the mayor and allow for the mayor to make that determination. So before you dismiss, Chairman, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, Mr. Chair and members of the body, thank you for giving us the opportunity. Then you're true. And most foremost, I want to make sure and ask you guys, we want to keep our staff. We want to keep the staff for the municipal council. Now, if you guys can give us operation, then we'll find to work somewhere else, with the operation, but at least we want to keep our staff. We don't want these people to go out there and be unemployed. It's very hard living in Rota. So I ask you guys to please keep our staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. You're hereby excused, and at this time, members, we will take a recess and be back. Let's make it 1:45. Thank you.